Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton. Welcome back to the MAAP Community Call, where we talk about making a plan for your pet, appointing caregivers, addressing the needs of your pet, and publishing that plan so somebody can actually follow it. I'm going to say hello to my attendees who I so love. Hey, Susan, how are you? Connie, how are you? Good to see both of you.
Yes, good to see you too.
Tonight is a jam-packed night because I had such a great talk today. So I'm going to check in with both of you, see how you're doing, and then share with you the things that happened over the last week that were really incredible. So, Susan, why don't we start with you? How's everything going with Maggie? Did you get in touch with Kathy?
I did get in touch with Kathy, and I feel somewhat hopeful. We're going to schedule a 60-minute session to go over everything. I had a crazy week this week and next week, so I thought next Friday I'll be able to. But I'm hopeful that she can give me some good advice. I'm trying to dial down the stress level in our house, and I think Maggie is, yeah, she's responding to that. So we're good.
Oh, good. Well, I just want to share with everyone that the Kathy is Kathy Madsen, who is the behaviorist from Preventavet, who's a colleague of mine and a friend of mine, and also a guest on the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. So if you want to learn more about what Kathy does, you can go to the Why Do Pets Matter podcast on any of your platforms. You might want to sign up for it because there is an incredible group of people coming and who've already gone as speakers on the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. But Kathy is a good friend, and Susan, over the last few weeks, has really expressed a need, and that's why we're here as a community, to figure out how to make her life with her dog, that's a Catan, bearable because of COVID. She was born before COVID, but she had to live through COVID, and so she has a little conduct issue. And so what we do here is not only build a plan for everyone for their pets, but also to help everyone find these resources they might need to make their life with their pets wonderful. So I'm so glad Kathy called you and you had a good talk. She is lovely. And if she didn't know the answer, I knew she would know who to send you to.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful. And so far we've just emailed, but I'm hopeful that we're going to get this thing under control.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Well, we'll check in with you next week. Hey, Connie, how's everything going at your house?
Well, we're doing much better, adjusting to life after Banny, and I am working very mightily with our Wheaton Health Endowment. The chair is a good friend of mine, and she lives right here in Orange County, so at least we're in the same time zone and in the same area. And so I'm in the process of getting her medical records together, so that I can upload them to our database and, really make that available to not only the University of Pennsylvania vet school, but other vet schools around the country who are doing research on our breed. And pardon me, the good news is that, of course, California is doing so well beating back the COVID bug that LA County is going to be very soon going unrestricted, because our positivity rate is just about 1% right now. And, people have been really good and really strict. And so things are opening up again gradually. And the mask mandate in the state is kind of, we don't know if it's going to be retained after June 15th or not, but pretty much all 58 counties in the state of California are, doing extremely well. And that bodes very well for dog training and dog shows. Yes. Young Mr. Casey and I are headed up with to Lodi, God help us, in July, where it can be triple digit in the Sacramento Valley. But the big Northern California Terrier Association specialty and the Kennel Club of Sacramento are going to be held there. So that will be the first really big dog show in the state since over a year at Kennel Club of Beverly Hills, where you were.
Yes.
So at any rate, we're looking very, very forward to that. And it'll be interesting to see what all our COVID dogs do when they're back in the show ring and judges are going over them once again. Not to mention us rapidly aging exhibitors. So,
well, it's interesting. It seems that most of the shows have been majors here on the East Coast because everybody is so pent up and things have opened up so much on the East Coast that most of them are majors. So you'll probably have majors. And I'll remind you, Connie, that it might be triple digits in the Sacramento Valley, but it's dry heat. I'll be in North Carolina where it could be triple
Yes.
digits, but the humidity will be higher than the temperature, and so it will be pretty miserable.
And the mosquitoes are as big as hummingbirds. Yes. I
Yeah.
remember growing up in the Midwest and, having my legs all full of mosquito bite welts. Yes.
I know. My son has those. I said, what are those on your legs? He goes, they were mosquito bites that just went crazy. And I went, oh,
Yeah.
great. So let me check in with Sally, who, by the way, received some flowers yesterday from Athena and Roxy and a card inscribed by Junie because it
Oh, my
was a
goodness.
birthday.
Yeah, so it was a great birthday, and Athena and I we walked at 5:30 this morning. It was nice and cool. We had a fabulous walk. And then I went out to walk her before this meeting, which is like, 6:30 in Connecticut. And she walked like 5 minutes. And I walked now with water, and she turned around and went right back into the house. It's just way, way, way too hot and no humidity.
No humidity. It's really dry, but it is hot because Junie and I, of course, Junie has no sense, no feeling. He's a 4-year-old, so there's no, no brain cells in activity. But Junie and I went out with Roxy, and Roxy was a trooper. However, instead of taking our regular route, we actually just made a U-turn and came back the way we came because of the shade. I said, wow, I never realized that on my way out on my walk, it's all shaded. And when I make the loop, there's no shade. So I just said to them as we were coming out of the shady part to go into the sunny part, I said, guys, I think we're going back the way we came. And so we did. So we were a little cooler than we would have been had we gone through the sunny part on the end of the ride. When you're thinking about your animals during the summer or during the winter, you really need to pay attention to the cold and the hot. And now we're entering heat season. I know that there was a Preventavet notice that I put up, and I sent out to everyone about heat and dogs because it really is serious. And then I also shared an AKC Canine Health Foundation notice that there was a webinar, and if you go to hamiltonlawmediation.com, you'll see it, and maybe Rose will be able to put it on later group. But there is a osteosarcoma webinar that the AKC Canine Health Foundation is putting on for free. But it really is, it is one of the maladies that befalls Irish setters. So it's something that interests me. And of course, it's always a good way to spread the word, right, Connie, that the AKC Canine Health Foundation is funded by purebred dog clubs. So
we have a donor advised fund that we have had for ages. I can't tell you when it started, but yes, I get their reports regularly, and as the club treasurer, I get their accounting as well. So
right, and you really want to let everyone know, because if you have a Wheaton Cavalier King Charles mix, you want to know what those maladies are that might hit a Wheaton. So you go to AKC Canine Health Foundation, check it out so you can know what you have to look out for. These are really important studies, and they help all dogs because the study is shared with anyone who might need it or might need to treat for an issue that has arisen. The AKC is wonderful about sharing the information. So I just wanted to put that out there because it was really, really important. I see Kieran is with us. Yay, Kieran from Tenerife.
Hi, Debbie.
Lucky guy. And I also hear that One-Eyed Leo is almost fait accompli.
Tomorrow at 1:00, it's going live. That's it.
Well, that's good. Well, let us know so we can all send it out to on our Facebook pages. Make sure you at least send me a link so I can send it to everybody else.
Love, will do. And Connie, I'll divide that into two. I got your note earlier. The files were too big, but I will do something about that. So
thank you. I was trying every which way with Kieran sent me the manuscript digitally, of course, and it was 111 megabytes. And so it was on Google Docs, and I got, the flashing red lights that it was too
And
big to
sirens,
download.
yeah.
And then they couldn't do a virus scan on it, and 80 gazillion different error messages. So anyway, I after trying everything that I could think of in cyberspace, I emailed Kieran and asked him to break it up. And so he's going to do that because I'm dying to read it.
Yeah, it's fabulous. And I have to tell you that I either have no firewall whatsoever, and so it was let in dancingly, or I have too much space and I should really cut back because holy Toledo.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad. And I'm really glad it's almost here. Tomorrow's the D-Day. It's the 20th of May. So 5/20/21 is the launch of One-Eyed Leo. We are so happy to be proud participants of a sort in bringing it to the table.
Yeah.
Bringing it to the table. I'm just so glad. So in that method and in that thought, I spoke to, and I know that Kieran knows Tom Van Winkle. He is the CEO and executive director of Hinsdale Humane. He's going to be a guest on Why Do Pets Matter, probably in July. And today we spoke and we talked about the need for transparency and communication and mentorship, which we've all talked about. I mean, we've talked to Susan about it with her breeder. Connie's talked about it. Sally's talked about it with the people in her Humane Society and the ASPCA that she keeps in touch with. And I mean, Kieran has talked about it through and through One-Eyed Leo, because it is about having that conversation. So Tom and I talked today, and we brought in the MAAP plan, because if you have the MAAP plan, Tom said, I never thought about this. He goes, but we really don't want the dog back. We will take it back. It's not that we won't take it back, but if you have a neighbor or a friend or a loved one who can take your dog when you can't care for it, and you let us know, not only will we be glad because we'll have an empty cage, he said, but we will offer to them the same thing we offer to you, which is support and the ability to bring the dog back anytime. So this plan that we all come every week to talk about is such a godsend for not only the pet owner, but humane societies and shelters, to enable people to have a conversation, to really think about what to do with their pets. I'm sorry Rose isn't on here tonight, but she sent me an article about your new office mate, all those pandemic puppies. And I get it. There are going to be a lot of offices that think that bringing pandemic puppies or bringing dogs to the office is a good thing. And the article actually went into what they have to do to bring dogs to the office. And I don't know if any of you realize this. I mean, I thought of all of this because I'm crazy, but you all are pretty sane, so you would think of all of this. What happens to the people who are conscientious objectors to dogs? They're the most disenfranchised people in the world, but they exist. People who are allergic to dogs, people who've had a bad experience with dogs, they work in your office too. So what they've done is they've made dog-free floors. They've made dog areas where you sign up. You actually go online. There's an app for it, because there's an app for everything, where you will sign up for a room in your office where you can go with your dog. And then now with, the pandemic and social distancing, if you bring your dog back, they're encouraging you not to say hello, because they really don't want people congregating around somebody's animal. And I don't know about you guys, but whenever I used to walk with my dogs, people would always stop and want to pet them. And then I created Roxy the Monster by making sure she never was touched by another living human being. And now any human being or dog who comes near her, she thinks, this danger, Will Rogers, or no, it wasn't Will Rogers. I forget what his name was in Lost in Space, but it
Buck
was
Rogers.
Yeah, no, not, but it was Buck Rogers in that show, but Will something, and maybe Connie will remember for Lost in Space, but I can't remember. But that's what Roxy does now. So, the other piece that they didn't address very well in here, and I wish they had, was bringing those dogs back to the office who were in the office before the pandemic, who now have a changed life because it is it's different. It really is different. They've lived a different life. I've said on many of the webinars that I've been interviewed on, it's not only the new owners with the new dogs, but it's the old owners with the old dogs, because there is no way for us not to think that our dogs who we've stayed home with in the pandemic, who were with us for 5 years, 10 years, whatever, didn't change too. They really did. And
Oh, yeah.
Roxy is the best example of that. I have never had a dog I had to hold up really close to my body when somebody walked by, ever. But she really took to that, my actions. She watched me, and it's been a year. And so now she says, I'm not letting these people near my mother. They might hurt her. So just be very, very careful. So that was the big thing that I did today. Tom Van Winkle, really great guy, Hinsdale Humane Society. And P.S., because we had such a great conversation, he wrote to me after we hung up and he said, I'd like to get the MAAP program into the Humane Society so that they could have conversations with people about making a plan for their pets. And I said, absolutely, we will think about it. So I'll keep you all posted on that, because I think it's going to be maybe one of those, last drops in the bucket of the MAAP plan, because it has always been the last thing people want to think about, making a plan for your pet. However, if you don't, it's really, really serious. There was an article I read today that talked about the loss of a pet. Oh, if you go back to my Facebook feed, it was a picture I put up, and I'm going to look it up because I loved it so much. And I posted it to remind everybody to come tonight, but it really was quite poignant. Where is it now? It's here somewhere. Here it is. Dogs' lives are short, too short, but you know that going in, the pain is coming. You're going to lose a dog, and there's going to be great anguish. So you live fully in the moment with her, never fail to share her joy or delight in her innocence, because you can't support the illusion that a dog can be your lifelong companion. There's such beauty in the hard honesty of that, in accepting and giving love while always aware that it comes with an unbearable price. That's a quote from Dean Koontz. And I sat there and I thought of you, Connie, of course, and Bammy, but I thought of everyone who worries about losing their dog, but doesn't worry about their dog losing them. And that's a much more tragic loss, quite frankly, than losing them. Because if something, God forbid, happened to Connie, Bammy, Patsy, and Casey would have been like, holy Toledo, what happened to our mom? I mean, I read that and I said, absolutely, this, and it's so poignant for us, Connie, because we've had too many, and everyone here who's lost a dog. Yours is relatively fresh, so that's why it came to my mind. But imagine what they would feel, because they're reading that too. They just don't know about the short period of time because they live each day to the fullest, which we should, but I digress. And so I sat there and I said, but what happens to them? Here we are, and we're worried about losing them. And it'd be much more tragic if they lose us.
Well, let me give you an example of, it's not just terminal illness for either the dog or for us. But again, living in California, it's wildfire season. And I'm sure everybody saw on the national news about the Palisades
fire. Right. Yep.
And that was actually 3 fires that were set from Topanga Canyon all the way over to the Palisades Highlands, which is where my oldest sister and brother-in-law used to live when she was a professor at UCLA Medical School, and now she's back at Johns Hopkins. But they had a beautiful house in the Palisades Highlands, 2 standard poodles always. They're on their umpteenth generation of 2 standard poodle girls. But when they were in the Palisades, they were evacuated twice, literally the fire coming over the ridge. And I had, she and her husband are living in Florida now near their kids, but I had a very good Wheaton friend, a PhD in psychology, and her husband, who was managing partner of one of the big 6 accounting firms, a tax attorney. They had buckets of money, lived in Topanga Canyon in a gorgeous house that backed right up onto the wilderness area. They had 4 Wheatons, and there was 1 road in and 1 road out. And every time we would go up to visit, MJ and Greg, if I was taking a friend to a club meeting or even just a social gathering, I would say, my God, how would they get out of here in case of a fire? And in fact, there was one lady on the local ABC news the other night who went back when they lifted the evacuation orders. She had left her animals. And I thought to myself, she had evacuated, she left her animals in the house and she went back to check on them. And I thought, my God, they would be the first things in my car.
I know. And you know, a lot of times, so that's what I loved talking to Tom again, because he said, you know, we all take care of our dogs and cats and birds and horses differently. So, but we have talked about the fact that you have to make a plan to evacuate your animals, because at the last minute, you can't like make a plan to evacuate your animals, because like Connie has crates in the back of her car and Sally has the ability to take dogs in the back of her car, and I have crates in the back of my car, and I'm hoping that Susan has something to put Maggie in the back of her car, and Kieran doesn't have a dog yet, so he doesn't have to worry, or a cat. But you really do need to have that ready to go. And if you don't, you know, if you're really in danger, you're going to cross your fingers, say you're sorry. I mean, I remember, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, Connie, that they went back to an entire burned out community and the dog wandered out of the ashes. And I don't know how it did it, but it wandered out of the ashes.
Up north.
Yeah. And you know, I don't think anyone does that intentionally, but they obviously haven't joined us on the MAAP program. They haven't realized that they can make a plan, and that plan can really be easy to implement. It's nothing difficult to do. You just have to think about it, you know, with us, because that's why we're here. We're easy to give you thoughts and ideas. And I mean, ask Susan. We've given her so many ideas and so many resources because she's, you know, really looking forward to making this plan and doing it in a way that helps her take care of Maggie in the best way. So it really, it's not something you do at the last minute. And when people leave without their pets, often they think, well, is the pet safer in its environment and the fire won't come here? They probably truly believe that. They probably truly believe, or they call their GAVAs, the guardian angel virtual assistant, and say, please take my neighbor's homes, not mine, because my dog's here. And maybe they would. But the bottom line is, we can't always depend on that. So we need to really make a plan and stick to it. And so we're starting with the fire season now. We're starting with the flood season. Look at Louisiana.
I have a Wheaton friend down there in Baton Rouge who was posting pictures on Facebook of the entire interstate just underwater.
4 feet of water. And I don't know, unless you have a second floor, no dog or cat is going to get 4 feet out of the water. Right. I mean, they'll try to get 4 feet, out of the water, but it will not work. So you have to really make sure they go with you. And the guys in the rowboats are not so happy about making that a reality. So it really is something you have to think about. Before I close, I want to ask you guys again how you're doing and what your thought of the day is. But before I end, I want to point you in the direction of a great Facebook page called Relief Rover. So it's my friend Cindy Trice. She's a relief vet. So she goes out and steps in for various veterinarians to give them a break. Either they're going on vacation or they need a mental health day. So she has created this business, which is fabulous. But the reason I'm talking about it is she hasn't figured out how to have people sponsor her yet. She has sponsors, all the big name Hills and others that are helping her with this 5-mile run. But it's a 5-mile run to raise awareness for veterinary suicide. So full disclosure, I am a colleague and a member of one of the board committees of NAMVI, which is Not One More Vet, which addresses the high suicide rates of veterinarians. And Cindy is running with the blessing of NAMVI to raise money for NAMVI and to raise awareness about how we speak to our vets. It is incredible how people speak to veterinarians. I am a colleague and I was on the beginning advisory board for Love My Pet, Love My Vet with Dr. Nadine Hamilton. And, you know, that is the beginning. It started probably about the same time as NAMVI, to have pet owners be aware of the stress and strain that are on veterinarians, and to make you aware that your words matter. I work on both sides of the fence, so I'm one of those. I talk to veterinarians on how they talk to their clients, and I talk to clients on how they talk to their veterinarians. That's what that Hamilton Law and Mediation stands for. But today, for the MAP plan, it is something I wanted to bring up because if you make your plan, remember to share it with your vet. Your vet is one of the best people to assure that your dog receives continued care the way you want. Because if they know, they can tell the person. So if Connie leaves her dogs and it's her friend down the street who has the plan, she knows the vet to go to, and the two of them can work
My
together.
vet has it.
Because if your vet doesn't have your plan, it is really not the best outcome for your pets. Because even if your pet goes to your sister in, Maryland, right? And she has to take it to a new vet in Maryland because the dogs are going to Maryland, right? Well, your vet's going to talk to that vet in Maryland because your vet knows. It's not going to just be about, well, this is the last checkup, this is the last this. He can actually say, Dr. Smith, Mrs. Kohler gave me her directives on what she wanted to do with these dogs. I'm sure you have a copy with her sister, but these are the things that were very important to her. Because if you write this MAP plan, you really want somebody to carry it out. I'm just saying, it's supposed to be carried out, which is why the P on the end, publish, is as important as making the plan, appointing caregivers, and addressing the needs of your pet. All four pieces are key.
It's also transfer of medical records too for your pet. That too is a very important consideration. If your dog has, well, even with, a totally normal, healthy dog, you still have years of lab work and years of veterinary notes. If your dog is on any kind of medication or any kind of specialized treatment, the new vet needs the medical records.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So it's NAMV. You can look them up on Facebook, Not One More Vet. And then it's Love Your Pet, Love Your Vet, a great group. They're out of Australia. But I actually offered, it would have been fun because it's Nadine Hamilton and Deborah Hamilton. I would have been the USA rep for Love Your Pet, Love Your Vet. Nadine Hamilton is the Australian person. And I said, why not? You just could use Hamilton and no one would know who'd drive up. So we're trying to make fun, but we are still working on it and hopefully it'll be successful. I would love for One-Eyed Leo to be part of that whole group of NAMV, and because giving pet owners the ability to understand what their responsibilities are toward their pets and also their responsibilities toward the people who care for their pets, their groomer, their dog walker, their veterinarian, across the board, people really do the best they can. And the way you talk to them is really very important. And veterinarians get a pretty bad end of the rope because sometimes we're not in the best of moods. Sometimes we're upset about the outcome. Sometimes vets get bad advice on what to do or say if there's a bad outcome. And that's from those attorneys, but I can say that because I am one. So bear with them, ask curious questions, don't be judgmental, and really find a way to have that conversation. I really do help pet owners have conversations with veterinarians that actually get to the point where at least it won't happen to anyone else and we know what happened. And that's, I think, what everybody wants. So before I close tonight, I'd love to get everyone's thoughts on how this week went for them with respect to living with their pets. Sally, we'll start with you.
Well, you know what I'm going to say. Every week with my pet is fabulous. But on the topic you were talking about, I was an expat for 4 years, and that was my biggest concern. And basically, I went and I said, what will happen if we are evacuated and we have to leave? And they said, your pet can't come. And I'm like, oh. And then I talked to my neighbors and we made an arrangement with them, but it's very, very important, exactly what you're talking about, because I said, well, I will, I'll pay you, put my dog on the plane to go back to the United States of America. And they go, no, it's people, pets don't go. And so it's a great point. But here on this side, we're fabulous. We're enjoying cake and looking at flowers and, life is good.
Oh, good. Wonderful. Connie, how about you?
Well, my babies are adjusting to life without Bammy, and they're getting back to normal and chasing squirrels and lizards who are way faster than they are, fortunately for the lizards. And they're very good on this Zoom call, but somehow whenever I have any kind of calls with important people or community members or God forbid members of Congress, which happens from time to time, I have one or two Zoom bombers. So they're getting back to normal.
Yeah, well, they actually know that this is a call all about them, so they're not going to disturb you on this call.
Right. They're very relaxed.
Absolutely. Hey, Susan, how about you?
Yeah, I looking forward to having a really close relationship with Maggie and getting her behavior under manageable control. And I just want to say, there are so many bad products out in the market for pets. Recently, there's Seresto collar. I don't know if people heard about that.
Yeah, they did, and you'll have
yeah.
advocates for Seresto as well as the naysayers. So it's a difficult call because I have colleagues who use it all the time and think it's great, and I just say, well, good for you. I'm just not going to try it.
Yeah, but when you're talking about people having conflict with each other and blaming about a bad outcome, but there's so much work to be done in the pet care industry world, food, everything. It's just, there's so much work that has to be done to change the ethics and everything that's out there. And I just hope that can be done, because I believe our canine friends can live much, much longer, healthier lives and better lives. And I'd like to see that happen.
I think it's starting because I think that this younger generation of veterinarians, not that the older veterinarians weren't, the older veterinarians were really transparent. But then came the times when people were much more litigious. And so everyone started to circle the wagons. And I'm hoping through the shift in wanting some transparency, being less judgmental, and really listening for curious questions, to listen for really good answers so that people can speak to each other in a way that actually serves the pet, which is why I don't litigate anymore, because I really want to have that conversation where people talk about the Seresto collar and what don't you like about it and what have you heard, and then the Seresto collar and what you like about it and what you've heard. And I hate to say, let's agree to disagree. Rather, let's appreciate that somebody has a different opinion, and that's okay. It's not something I would use on my dog, and that's a piece of information that needs to be in your MAP plan. Or if it's okay to use it, that's a piece of information that needs to be in your MAP plan.
Right.
Because you really want to make sure you educate people. So
yeah, it's a difficult situation, and
Yep.
I just wish people weren't allowed to sell products that are harmful to.
Well, it's interesting you said that, because there's a lot of products out there that have very avid devotees, and then there are people who wouldn't put it on with a 25-foot pole. I remember, and Connie, you probably can bear this out, when they started with the Top Spot, all of us were really leery, because what are you putting on my dog? And some dogs had really, really bad reactions. Yet the ability to not have your dog get Lyme disease was pretty important.
Right. So, no, I appreciate the difficulty.
Yeah, it's really difficult. So you may not want to be the guinea pig and be the first person out, like we all are with the vaccinations, just saying. But we'll all see what happens in 5 years when we all, grow tails or something, and that way we can wag, and that'll be really nice. We won't care if we wear masks, because our smile will be our tail wagging. So, and finally, Kieran, I know what you're going to say, but what was your week like?
Oh, wow. I'm going to tell you a little story, if I may.
Sure.
And it will sum it all up, which was, I suppose everybody here knows, when you're working on a project there and you look back in your life, and there's work or the projects where everything goes wrong all the time. And the strange thing about one-eyed Leo is it's like this thing has a force of its own where everything goes right all the time. and I'd this weird moment last week where I got a call from the graphic designer to say there was a disaster and she had lost a key part of the graphics. And I thought, well, okay, these things happen, no problem. So I put an advertisement up on the local digital website here in Tenerife. Now, Tenerife is one of the Canary Islands, and the Canary Islands comes from the word canis. It's the island of the dogs.
Really? That's
Yes,
interesting.
that's now.
You would
So
think it was the island of the birds, but we digress.
Exactly.
not Canaries, no, Canis, island of the dogs, island of the dogs. Anyway, to stick with the story, I put this advertisement, and I got a lot of nice answers. Oh yeah, I'll do it for you, and it'll only hit you for let's say about $75 an hour, and an improvement of that $50 an hour. And this was going on for a couple of hours, and then I got this very strange text from nowhere, which was, "Oh, I see you need a graphic designer. I can do that for you, and it'll be no cost at all. I'll just return the favor." And I said, "Well, what's all this about?" And the story was, about 6 months ago, I was driving down one of the more dangerous roads in Tenerife around a very fast, steep bend on the motorway, which goes into a hairpin bend. And there was this young girl hitchhiking in the middle of it. And I said, she must be completely crazy. So I pulled over where I could and start beeping the horn and said, "Get the hell out of there quick." So she got into the car, and then I dropped her down to a gas station where she could actually get a lift. And she told me, "Oh, this is the first time I've ever hitchhiked in my life."
Yeah, that's
And I
why
said,
she was no good at it.
I think you're very lucky you still have it, putting it mildly. So anyway, to cut the story short, she sends me this text. "Yeah, I see you're in trouble, but I'm happy to return the favor." So fair play to her. She spent about 3 days pulling it all together, and we have about 3 more hours tomorrow, and that will be it. So, as I say, the strange thing about One-Eyed Leo is I just feel it's sort of an energy or something whose time has come, and
Yep.
you know yourself, Debbie, is even the MAAP plan is in there too.
Yep.
So
I have to tell you that, every time that you come on and you talk about this, I always sort of see my gavas, I call them my gavas, guardian angel virtual assistants, hovering by you, because they're just helping you get everything done, and they're putting you in the right place at the right time. I always say, anything I can think of, God help me do it. Or if you can think of something better, go right ahead. And right now, this or something better. Well, whatever it was good. And now, because you helped that girl on the hill and she got down and she was alive, you've got your book back, maybe even better.
I think a lot better. And yeah, my mother used to say, "Don't worry, Kieran, your guardian angel is probably on Valium."
Yeah. That's right. You have a lot of virtual assistants just like me. I have like a million, because everywhere I am, when I almost trip and fall, I go, "Thank you." They're all holding me up so I don't trip and fall. I don't know about you guys, but I am a firm believer that, the guardian angels keep me on the straight and narrow. They keep me going. And every time I think of some negative thought about myself, and hopefully this will help you going forward, everyone. If you think a negative thought about yourself, remember, your guardian angel would never say that about you, so don't say it about yourself. Not happening. So Kieran, I'm so glad you told that story, because you know what? It is, I pay back the favor. So let's all pay back the favor. Tell 2 people about the MAAP plan. Hopefully they'll come next week, because it's not like I don't ever like meeting with you guys. I love it. You guys are my family, and I might have to have the inner club and then the outer club. But I'd love to get more people to do this. It's so important. The next workshop won't be until September, because self-care. I'm losing my mind for the Irish Setter Club American National, which I'm running. I'm losing my mind packing my house up. And I'm basically just losing my mind because I'm old and I can, because that's what we do when we get to be 60 and plus, you lose your mind. So I'm doing all the things I like sending the forward to Kieran, and helping with One-Eyed Leo, and chatting with all of you, and helping Susan get in touch with Kathy Madsen, and helping Athena and Roxy pick the flowers, and Junie write the card for Sally's birthday, and sending hugs, of course, to Connie because of the BAMs. But I was so grateful to have, met her virtually, and that was really great. So until next week, guys, stay safe. Kiss Maggie and
I
Casey
will.
and Patsy and Athena for me. And I, of course, give all of you a huge kiss. Remember, like the MAAP Plan on Facebook. Don't forget to listen to the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. And this is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation. Until next week, your pets matter to us, so make a plan.